Hey, what's up, Ron? Real entrepreneurs? I am so excited you're here. And I want to talk to you today about the top 5 reasons startups fail. And so you might have startup dreams and maybe, everyone's doing a startup these days. Like even, friends randomly message me, I've got a startup. And it's kind of like the trendy thing to do. But at the same point, startups have a 90% failure rate, 90%. So if you've listened to my show on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, everywhere, Raw and Real Entrepreneurship, I interview the most successful startup founders. And, these people, they hustle, they've been through the grind. They're not afraid to share all of the challenges that they've circumvented. And yet, even despite the high failure rate, there are millions and millions and millions and millions of people every single year who apply to start a business. And so you're here because you want the raw and real reasons of success and failure. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. If you don't know me, my name is Susan Sly. I am a founder, I am an investor, and I'm a mom. And so I kind of give you like that mom truth wisdom. So hopefully that resonates for you. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, drop a comment below and share this video if you find it helpful. All right, let's get down to it. So what's the number one reason that startups fail is lack of cash flow. So when you're starting a business, the average startup begins with about $5,000. If you go to susansly.com/blog, you'll see where all these statistics come from. And so, you have this person, they've got an idea, they've got a little bit of money, but they're thinking more about the actual starting. They're not necessarily thinking about the next steps and the longevity. You are going to spend money on legal fees a lot. You're going to spend money on various insurances, cybersecurity, director and operator insurance. You can check out other videos where I talk about these types of things. You're gonna, have the capital outlay to get your product out the door. If you have a very technical product, you're looking at minimum hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, just to get it out there. And then there's the sales and marketing. So startups need a lot of money. And initially that money might come from you. You might start to get investors, people who believe in your idea. And then in which case you are obligated to them because you want to make sure you pay them back as your company grows. But that's the number one reason it fails, is because of cash flow. And a lot of startup founders, they don't have a background in accounting. They don't know that much about, how a balance sheet works. And one of the first things I do when I'm talking to someone who wants to have a startup, after I hear their product, their, concept, how they're going to get it to market, I say, who is managing your cash flow? Because if they don't have that person, they haven't thought about it, they are setting themselves up for failure. The second reason that startups fail is there's no market need for their product. So you might have an amazing idea for a product, but no one wants to buy it. And that doesn't mean it's not an amazing idea. It might be a little bit ahead of its time. There are a lot of products that didn't get initial traction like they could have. And then as the market matured, then there was more demand for what it is they were doing. And then events can change demand for a product as well. Like a pandemic changed the level of demand for things like Zoom, as an example, and other types of modalities that allowed us to connect virtually. But early adopters of Zoom wasn't getting that same amount of traction. I mean, people were using it as opposed to, say, GoToMeeting and different things like that. But when the pandemic hit, it was suddenly like my kids are on, in school on Zoom, and I'm talking to my dad on Zoom. And so things like that can really accelerate the demand. But the second reason, again, that startups fail is because there is no market need. So you want to make sure you are doing your research and going on Google, seeing what people are searching around that product or service concept, using hashtags. So you can, depending on what your product or service is, you can go on to Instagram, you can go on Twitter, you can go on LinkedIn, you can start to see what types of things people are commenting and sharing, and then use different modalities of search. YouTube is a search engine, even on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on these platforms, Facebook, you can go in that search bar and search, and you can see other businesses in your vertical. And the good news is, don't be jealous. It's always, as I share, it's more important to be curious than critical. When you see someone else in your space and you're seeing that they're getting some traction, it shows there is a market demand. Yay, that's awesome. All right, number 3 reason why startups fail has to do with the founder, and the founder is not coachable. So what I mean by coachability is that founder willing to take feedback? Is the founder willing to take feedback from mentors, advisors, from other people who are in their industry, from venture capitalists, potential investors? If the founder is not coachable, that company is not going to succeed. Wayne Dyer, when he was still alive, I had the privilege to get to know Wayne, just a beautiful person. And he used to say, ego stands for edging God out. And so the most successful founders I know are willing to take advice from other people. And I would say that even in my own career, one of the greatest compliments I received recently, I was in New York and I was having tea with an amazing investor friend. And he said, Susan, you're a very curious person. I was like, thank you. That is a great compliment, because I love to ask questions and I love to read books, listen to podcasts, watch videos, and really learn from people who've walked the paths before. And on Raw and Real Entrepreneurship, and again, if you haven't subscribed to my podcast, please do. I'm interviewing some outstanding founders. I interviewed Jesse Itzler, who founded NetJet, Zico, Coconut Water. His wife is Sarah Blakely. I've interviewed Dave Asprey. I've interviewed so many incredible founders and people who have transcended the odds of entrepreneurship. So I'm always learning and always growing. And I would say for all of you that if you want to have startup success, spend at least 10 to 20% of your time learning. And as Damon Johns, one of the sharks, says, I've seen Damon speak, and just an amazing person, that last 7 minutes before you go to bed, what you put in your brain is really important. So ending your day with business knowledge, wisdom, and starting your day that way, that's going to change everything and help you become more successful. Number 4 reason startups fail is because they don't have a person who can sell. You need someone who can sell your product or service. And that when you are going and you're starting to pitch your business, anyone who's a seasoned venture capitalist, an investor, they are going to ask you for your sales roadmap. They're going to ask you how you intend to hyper verticalize, how you intend to get your product out there, and they're going to ask you about your sales channels. And if you can't answer those questions, you need help. You need to bring someone in there. And you can initially, in a startup, even bring someone in on commission. So say, hey, listen, I'm a startup. I'll give you some equity and I'll also give you commission on what you sell. I can't afford to pay you a salary right now. And especially in technology, those commissions are pretty serious. I have friends who sell in technology and they make over $1 million a year. They hustle, mind you, but they get some pretty sweet commissions on the deals they bring in. So you need to have someone who can sell. And if you don't, yes, that is going to be one of the reasons that your company fails. There are a lot of companies out there and they have really sick technology and they're like engineers and data scientists. They're super techy, but no one can sell the product. That's a problem. Number 5 reason why startups fail is because the founders or founder doesn't have a network, and you are going to have to lean on your network. One of my mentors, Harvey McKay, who's written 7 New York Times bestsellers, including Swim with the Sharks or Get Eaten Alive, and is a great entrepreneur himself. says your network equates to your net worth. And so expanding your network all the time. And that's why going to virtual events, going to networking meetings, being able to go connect with people, even on LinkedIn. Some of the most amazing people I've met have been through LinkedIn, and I'm not hesitant to reach out to people. I'm not in that initial reach out. I'm not trying to sell them anything. It's just, let's connect. I'll compliment them on an article they posted. And I've met incredible people on LinkedIn, even some people I've interviewed on my show. And so one of the things you want to do as a startup founder is always be expanding your network every single day. And that is going to help you grow the business. But when you don't have a network, it is going to set you up for failure. So with that, those are the top 5 reasons startups fail. And you know me, even though it's raw and real entrepreneurship, I always want to put a positive spin on it. So I want you to leave these videos feeling uplifted. So hopefully this has been helpful. I'd love for you to drop a comment below. Don't forget, again, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please do share this video and check out more videos just like this one where I go through the raw and real tips to be an entrepreneur, to be a founder, because you know what, it's gritty, it's messy, and sometimes they're like, I want to pull my hair out, but it is so worth it. So with that, God bless, go rock your day, and I will see you in the next video.